Hello, everyone. Happy to be back in Singapore and Music Matters again. In fact, I think I'm one of the very few people who's been to Music Matter for almost over 10 years. I think since my days in Nokia. We had the first Music Matters event in Hong Kong and then moved here. So great to see a big crowd today. So let me quickly introduce the panel. So as Jasper mentioned, it's about the traditional versus the new. Okay, it's about internet players versus content owners and providers. And the reason why I wanted to do this panel and set this topic is I want it to be interesting. I want it to be a good debate, a good discussion, and even a bit of a fight, verbally, of course, on the stage, just to make things more interesting. And I want to, open a can of wounds that people are trying to avoid by doing such a panel. So as the topic of the panel is that how in this new world do we compete? Do we collaborate and do we coexist going forward? So allow me to introduce the following panelists for today's panel. Let's welcome Denis, CEO of Billy Digital. So I think as everybody knows that Billy Digital is one of the biggest content aggregators in the world. In several markets, they are even bigger than the three majors, as per my understanding. And maybe, Denis, you can give a quick intro about yourself and Billy Digital.
Sure. Not sure. Yeah. Yep. So Believe is both a distributor and an artist services company. We are present with over 1,000 people in 44 offices around the world, working with artists at all stages, from very developing artists to top Billboard charted artists across all major territories. And our focus is really to provide distribution, services, marketing, and promotion support to artists around the world.
Thank you, Denis. Have a seat, please. And also allow me to introduce Danny Twan from Rock Records, Taiwan. I think maybe many of you know that Rock Records is one of the most prestigious record company out of Taiwan for the Chinese repertoire contents. They have been operating business in Taiwan and in Greater China for close to 40 years. Actually, next year will be their 40th year, 39 years. That's a really great long history, and they've created thousands of great songs, and that's in the hearts and minds of many generations of Chinese music lovers. Please, Danny.
Hello, everyone. I'm Danny Twan from Rock Records. Actually, this is my 35th Music Matters, but first time on stage, so hope you guys enjoy. Thank you.
Have a seat. Yeah, and also allow me to introduce another U.S. IPO company in Aichi, the Vice President, Chen Xiao Michael, please. So as you know, Aichi is the largest, or maybe second largest, the two of the largest video platforms in China. They are simply big in every form, in user base, in revenue size, in content size, and all that. They have recently also, very much like TME, have embarked on the path of creating our own contents. Many of those contents, although video-based, are music-centric. So they have created great shows such as the Rap of China, such as the Big Band, and all of these contents and audio rights have sub-licensed to TME, and we have that distribution right and that collaboration together. So please, Michael.
Thank you, TC, for inviting me. I think I'm maybe the one guy here who doesn't belong to music industry. So it's kind of TME set me up. Maybe they want to do something, they cannot speak it up. So let us to be example in the online video example. So I'll try to make my role right, and I'll try to share something with you, not happen in music industry, but truly in China digital platform. Okay.
Thank you, Michael. And then finally, allow me to introduce Terence Leon from KK Farm. I guess not many of you knows what KK Farm is. It is actually a initiative that's created from KK Box. KK Box is the biggest music service out of Taiwan. Currently, they are the biggest in Taiwan as well as in Hong Kong. Once they were the biggest in Thailand and various Southeast Asia countries. KK Box, being a leading music platform for many, many years in their leading markets, have finally also made the move to go on the road of creating their own content or having their own content strategy, but via the vehicle of KK Farm, which is more of an investment angle of content strategy. Tell us a little bit about that later, but quickly introduce yourself, please.
Hi, I'm Terence, and I'm from KK Farm, which is part of the KK Box group. I think TC has made a pretty good introduction. I am previously from the music industry, and I work in the technology industry today, so this shall be a very interesting conversation.
Great. Okay, so I'm going to sit down. Bear with me, because I'm going to move a bit slowly. I've hurt my back in the past couple of days. But I'm going to kick off the panel with a couple questions to each of the panelists, and then we can have some more open discussion. Actually, we already had a quite interesting discussion during the preparation session earlier, and I said, okay, let's hold it there, and then let's take this conversation on the stage continuously. So I want to throw the very first sensitive question to Denis, who is sitting next to me. So Denis, you guys obviously represent thousands of labels and industry. So what do you think about service providers like TME? So for TME, let me quickly introduce you that we have been embarked on the path of our own content strategy for more than a year now. We have owned in market share-wise, in double-digit in the Chinese market. We have invested, acquired in many label companies as well as projects, artists, workshops, and stuff like that. Recently, we had several very successful projects with our gaming arms in promoting such as Alan Walker's On My Way, which is, of course, from Liquid, which is a joint venture between us and Sony Music, TME and Sony Music, so it's no secret that we've embarked on that road long ago. We've also recently created many successful contents with our gaming department as well as our movie and drama department. Recently, we launched a Chinese drama called Chen Qing Ling, which the digital album alone sold for more than close to 30 million in renminbi in just a couple months' time. So we are seeing all the success, and we will continue down that path. And I want to ask you that question: what do you feel about us and iQIYI, and maybe KK Farm as well there, doing the kind of business that you guys used to do, or your clients and your representees are doing?
I never thought that we were in the same business. In the sense, what I mean by this is that Belief's core mission is what? Belief's core mission is to develop artists, whether it's artists that come to us directly or artists that are signed to the labels we distribute. So what that means is that we are 100% of our focus is on artists. Our mission, we breathe and live about how we are going to develop artists. And what I think about, the way I think about TME, to answer your question, is TME first as a mission that is very consumer-centric. And then you have a secondary business that's an artist-focused business. But your primary focus is on driving value from consumers. And so in our role and in the interactions that Believe has with TME are very simple. It's one, when we have discussion with you, how do we leverage our existing position to extract the best possible conditions from you, because TME is a key player in the market to monetize music. It is the largest player, and as Kushan explained it, has been instrumental in transforming the market. So for us is, how do we extract the most value, financial value in the relationship, and marketing and promotion value to help us develop artists in the relationship. So I'd say from that standpoint, it's a very complementary relationship, not a competition relationship. So I would say historically, that's the way we thought about it. We've also a relationship to distribute part of TME's content internationally. So I think it's what we're looking for is, what are the complementarity that actually in the relationship help us achieve our mission of developing artists.
Sure, thank you. So I guess from the three words I have put down there, compete, collaborate, and coexist, I guess for Believe Digital, you have naturally chosen the collaborate and the coexist direction. But obviously, as you have known, that we have recently made some public announcement about TME, or actually Tencent, investing in Universal Music. Did that was that a kind of a big thing to you guys when you heard it, and how do you and your management react and respond to that?
Well, the way we think about it is, once again, back to our core mission, which is to best serve artists. That means helping help our artists reach all audiences. So when we're in China, what matters is, how do we help them reach 100% of their target audience? Part of their target audience is on TME. Part of their target audience is artists that are viewing the shows that are being created by Ishi and other players in the market. So that's what we're first thinking about. Whether the fact that you might be creating or producing content on one side means that we just need to get better in terms of producing, financing, developing artists in the market than Universal Music is, and I think we are in a number of territories. So we just have to keep going at it and create for it. And I think at the end of the day, whether you build your own content or you partner with a third party, that third party will have to stay true to its core mission of developing artists. That's where, if you start mixing that, then you become in trouble.
Sure, you're very authentic about that. So, I think on the competition side, for Believe as a mainly foreign contents aggregator in China, is probably less felt. But let me come to Danny. So, what do you think? I mean, obviously, you guys have been in the industry for the longest as a big local indie. I don't know if all the audience know about Rock Records. Once they were the king of Chinese music in the Greater China region. I think a lot of people from Taiwan, Hong Kong, and China would definitely know Rock Records, right? And then it's such a great repertoire that they have still now. And you must have some kind of feeling when you hear us or see us investing in labels and doing our own content, and what went through your mind, and how do you think about that? And yeah.
Well, before I get on the stage, I thought I was the one should be sitting on the white chair, because I'm the only one from the label side. Okay, so on top of that, talking about platforms, giant platforms like Tencent or KKBox going upstream, well, basically it's nothing against any regulation, so I cannot say, hey, please don't do that. It's not like that. So on the contrary, I think competition is not a bad thing. Just go back a little bit. Let me introduce Rock Records a little bit. Rock Records is a Mandarin music label based in Taipei, Taiwan. And in 1980, 39 years ago, when the founders first founded the company, and they believed that music has its own value. and music is everything we have to do. So that's what we did. That's what they believe, and that's what we're still doing now. So making the good content, the good music, and the best music is our mission. So if I keep that in mind, anyone who's interested, whose intention to join the industry, if their intention is for something good, to create, just like us, just be enthusiastic as we do, and as any of the labels in this room do, to create good content, I think there's no need for us to feel threatened by platforms go upstream, because no matter you go upstream or I go upstream, if you do your things right, I do my things right, and eventually will benefit anyone in this industry. That's what I believe.
Yeah, so I'm going to ambush you one question, because Rock Records and many other labels have also created a music service in Taiwan called All Music, where you are shareholder with. How have you guys coped with that operation? Is it? I mean, what do you think about that?
Well, that case, All Music is a platform. That's a special case because All Music is a platform that's strictly bound to the mobile carriers, the three major mobile carriers in Taiwan. But on top of that, I think more platform, because Taiwan is not Taiwan only, but the music market is an open market. More players in this market, I think, is nothing bad, right? More platforms who can discover new opportunities. That's what we think when we just started All Music.
So we are going upstream and you are going downstream, right? So I get it. So I have a question for Chen Xiao, for Michael. Okay, so what went through the minds of your top management when iQIYI decided to enter the content creation business rather than the traditional licensing model? Because I know iQIYI, Youku, and Tencent Video, these mega video service providers, I wouldn't say suffer. They went through a very critical stage where they had to pay huge amount of money to the content owners, and so that they can compete against each other. I think 1 year, maybe with the intervention of government, they came together and then they start to do joint procurement together for a little while, and then you guys enter the path, or embark on the path of self-content creation. So now you own a lot of these content that's on your platform, very much like Netflix. But more than Netflix, you guys have a lot of music-related contents where we have to buy contents from you guys, from TME point of view, audio-wise, and they own the video, right? So what went through your top management's mind when you decided to do that? I mean, what kind of push you guys to that direction?
Okay, so I know what you want, TC, so I'm going to give you the answer later. First thing, when we think about to move to original, maybe self-produce this track, we ask ourselves two questions. And one is deeply from our users' demand. Are they satisfied now for the current content situation? Is there any possibility we can make better, make more diversified content for them? Will they glad for see this kind of situation? I think this is very original from the decision. And the answer is yes, and it's true. We have been produced content for them for 3 years. And now our subscribers, just hit the number 100 million subscribers in China. And because, previously in China, they create a lot of TV series, they create variety shows, mostly for linear TV. And we found a chance because for linear TV content, they compromise a lot for more wide, consumers. And we want to focus on more, new people, young age people. And secondly, is they offer, because they want to cover more consumers, so the diversity of the content is not enough. So we want to create more diversity content for specific kind of group. Maybe we don't need 50 million people to watch this. We just need 5 million people to watch this and feel good. And that's a different logic for content creation. So that's the first question. This original start from we can make something different. And these things doesn't happen in market previously, so we want to do that. And the second is kind of the things push us to do that. The licensing content, they're more and more expensive because we buy a lot of the content, spend hundreds of millions of money on that. But if something going hot at that season, and next season, the licensing fee will be double, triple, maybe 10 times. And for those content that's not going hard, they keep trying the same money. So I think that's not a very fair business model for us because we do not do the price. So, and the second thing is that this is not only the part is not only that, because secondly it's not controllable for the schedule if we do licensing, because when you do licensing content, you do not know exactly when it will go out, maybe in September, maybe in July. And when we have several hundreds of content together, the schedule is very important for us. We must run the business in certain schedule, certain budget, and keep the cash flow and keep the traffic. So we do the strategy to say we have to do the self-production, maybe at least 40 to 50%.
40 to 50.
Yeah, 40 to 50 in future. And then we can make the base of the platform, the supplier is steady. It's not very dynamic. So our users, our subscribers won't quit the subscription. Because if you give them 10 dramas at Q2 and you give them 50 at Q3, that's not good. We have to keep the steady, so it's more practical for our side. So that's two things, one from the original side and one from the environment, and that's to make us going to do the decision.
And I remember in the room you said you can actually disclose the share of the self-created contents and the licensed contents. Is that something you can share?
Yeah, our plan is just 50/50 in the future.
That's the plan.
Yeah, that's a plan. And
I'm sure your stock price will rise tomorrow. Just kidding.
In like TV series, it's almost that part. But in drama, in others like comic or something, not animation, not that much. But in TV, we have the 50/50. 50 our originals and 50 from licensing.
Wow, that's pretty big. Okay, thank you. Okay, so next I'd like to go to Terry a bit. So your case is quite interesting, right? So I think we briefly introduced you earlier. So you were once a technology leader in KKBox, and you've created a lot of very cool technology that kind of helped you guys to analyze a lot of interesting data, to predict and uncover some of very interesting talents going forward. But before that question, so right now you are with KK Farm, which is more of an investment company, investing into various smaller indies. Tell us about your dilemma and your opportunity here. I mean, obviously, as a content investor and co-owner, you have to face your old company, KKBox, to work with them and license your contents to them. But yet at the same time, you need to face these up and rising artists. And so what's the dilemma and your opportunity here, please?
I think the opportunity, the whole conversation about KK Farm began in 2015 when me and our group CEO, Chris, and KK Box's co-founder, we were having a discussion about This is post Justin Bieber. This is post you can be famous on YouTube. You have access privilege on the internet, and so KK Box is a very, like, definitely we love music, but we're often, we're often labeled like a company full of engineers who really love music, and it's really that way. So Chris had a very strong commitment to how to apply and build technology of the future for this growing generation of independent artists. So I remember when we first started this conversation, he asked me a question. He said, what do you think a label's gonna look like in 2025? And I was like, well, that's pretty easy. It's gonna be an operating system. But I've never built software at that time. And he was like, well, I think you'll come to find out that it's pretty hard to, like, just say build an operating system. But we continue to see opportunity in this space, this Generation Z, post-millennial space, and we wanted to figure out how we were going to build new types of tools for these people as they grow up and come out to this industry. So in the beginning, we actually began as this thing called Content Creators Club, like CCC, and it was going on for like 7 months, and he was like, yeah, we're gonna build the LinkedIn for musicians, and I was like, well, I'm a musician and I use LinkedIn, and I guess that conversation died there. And then he shared something very interesting with me, which was, he shared with me all his struggles, because I think, just for some context, KK Box as a streaming company began in 2004. Today we operate in Taiwan, Hong Kong, Singapore, Malaysia, Japan. So we're one of the earliest legal music streaming platforms. So you can imagine the amount of stories and experience that comes with that. And so when Chris was sharing with me that struggle, he was like, one of the most powerful things that I've learned from this journey was my failures. So if we're gonna go empower this next generation of artists or creators, we're gonna need to fail for a certain amount of time, and it's gonna be painful. And I know it sounds a little romantic, but it's true, right? So we were like, okay, well, let's start a very small fund. We made very small investments, like anywhere between 50 to say 100 grand into like a startup label. And it revolves around the concept of, like, we were kind of looking at it and we were like, well, these independent groups of artists all revolve around an artist, a business manager, and a producer, maybe. Sometimes they're even the same person, or sometimes they're just a dual. But that reminded us of a neutron, a proton, and an electron, and we were like, well, this is kind of like an atomic label. Like, essentially, if you just have the artist, which is the neutron, and you have a producer, which is like the proton, and the manager is like the electron, you essentially have an atom. So let's go find atomic labels to invest in, and maybe through doing this, we'll fail and learn. So, like, the question about us going into distribution was a necessity, because when I started 5 of these labels, the first thing they were like, okay, like, how are we gonna distribute music? And I was like, well, that's really easy. I'll just call every platform and see if we can get it up. And literally, it was the hardest thing. So, like, I have much respect for everyone, like, including Rock Mobile doing distribution. But we just built a distribution company purely out of necessity. And then, so a lot of the dilemmas we met was, first of all, the biggest dilemma I think that we had is in the question itself is, when we start doing this, are we going to be perceived as a label? And we personally believe that with this increased access privilege to information and the massive proliferation of content, I think there's more room for everyone to coexist. But learning how, say, like, platforms and, say, iconic labels like rock, how we can collaborate in the future to do newer things. I think this was our mentality going into it, but we were also very honest with the fact that, okay, well, we might get perceived that we're gonna do a label, but we're very honest with ourselves. We run a streaming platform prior, right? And sell tickets online. We have absolutely no clue how to run a label. So as we started the first year, it was we just took inspiration from Y Combinator, and it was like, well, Y Combinator is like making seed investments into early stage startups, and maybe we can just share our experience and use a lot of math. So it would be like, and I agree, Danny, I think music's very important, being a musician myself. So one of the things we do at KK Farm is we don't get involved in the music. We find people to invest in or work with that we have a track record of being very talented, and we do math. So it's a collaboration and an enmeshment of music and math, essentially.
So, what's the current fund size of KK Farm? Because maybe there are some prospective investees here. You guys have enough money to finance a lot of projects? Is it confidential?
Yeah. Is it?
Okay.
Okay, we're about...
You have enough money to...
Yeah.
So if anyone who is interested in allowing KK Farm to invest in them, please reach out to Terence after the panel. But I want to kind of be a bit pushy here. So okay. I know I've gone out of line. I gave these guys a couple questions beforehand, but I'm gonna jump out of the script.
Let's get fun.
I know when Michael, you guys did the content, you mentioned that it was because it was very expensive, and the hot contents will come back next year again for asking for more money, double, triple, even 10 times more. So you say, hey, screw it, I'm going to do it ourselves. So that at least we own the contents, and if it becomes hot, we're not going to ask for ourselves 10 times the money, right? And Terry, as a musician, and in 2004, that's even before Spotify, you and Chris and a bunch of guys already did KK Box. You have loved music, and you believe that there are certain artists that are not being taken care of or being looked at carefully, and they don't have the money, they don't have the resource, they don't know how to deal with legal and copyright issues. But they are certainly very talented, so that's why you guys did KK Farm and trying to uncover these guys, right? So, great initiative. I think probably even more, more noble than TME, because first we came from the same idea as what Michael said, that we want to save some money going down the road. But obviously, we are also seeing the opportunities now. There are a lot of young, great talents that maybe in the traditional records industries way of managing and developing them is no longer viable, or it needs a change. So that's why I think we are kind of being pushed to that direction. But again, coming back to the collaborate and coexist angle, I think, through that, obviously it would alert the labels, the traditional content aggregators and creators, that there's another force in the field that you guys have to kind of look at it more seriously. So next question, which I originally designed, and I think it's going to be an interesting one, and I don't know whether you have the answer for me, is that obviously you guys represent thousands of labels and artists. And then I know that we all know that Spotify actually announced of launching their kind of content distribution program, which was kind of trying to steal your business directly, right? Because you were distributing for those labels and indies, and then they came out and saying, okay, we want to do, what these guys are doing, all right? So, but later on they dropped the program, right? And then now they're doing their podcast and stuff like that, right? So, what do you think that went through the minds of Spotify management team? I mean, what happened that they had made such a big announcement and big splash and big noise, and then they just kind of quietly, shrunk back and then say they're going to do podcast? Yeah. Tell us about that.
I think they just came to reason on what their core business was. What's making the valuation of Spotify, what's making the valuation of TME, there's only one thing that's building the value. It's what is the amount of paid subscribers that you will be able to attract to the service and develop. And I don't think that the valuation of Spotify or the valuation of TME are predicated on how much you will be able to develop an artist-based or a content-based business. I fundamentally believe that it's tied to the core mission. And I think what happened at Spotify was Spotify realized that being in the artist development business, it's a very different mission than having to satisfy a consumer with a that is paying $10 a month with a music experience, and that it requires a different skill set and a different approach. So I really, which is why I really do believe that fundamentally both mission, the artist mission and serving the consumer mission, are very different. And more importantly, I do think that in the Spotify example, they are even conflicting. Because why? If you look at why did Spotify did this move in the first place, it's very simple. First, you said it, economic reason. I want to be able to lower my content cost. How do I do this? I distribute artists directly, because when I distribute artists directly, I pay artists directly less than I pay Believe. That's representing more artists, so that as a deal that's more attractive. That's number one. Number two, why do they want to distribute artists? Because by having a closer relationship with artists contribute to your marketing of a platform. So fundamentally, are you doing this for artists? No, you're doing this to serve your marketing purposes, help you drive customers to the service. So I do think fundamentally, after testing this, I do think that they realize very simply, hey, once this is more difficult than we thought, and this is not fundamentally the same mission, which is why I think that if you're going to operate in the content business, I would say be in the business of developing artists. You need to be in the business of developing artists. So if I take a Chinese artist, what that means is that to develop an artist, you need to ensure that that artist is being present in front of the eyes of NetEase users, iQIYI users, Tencent users, because that's where all of the audiences will be. And being TME, you can certainly provide more services to the artist, but you will nonetheless need to do these things. Which is why, finally, when Spotify launched, I told my team this is going to be interested to see where that goes, and what I felt that where that goes is exactly where that has ended, which is shutting down the business. Do I think tomorrow you might have a vertical integration of businesses with Tencent being both a streaming player and a content player or an artist development company like we are? Yes, you can be, but you will have to be both and create synergies. Not operate the artist business as a subset of an acquisition or I would say lowering overall content cost. I think that's for that piece. That's one piece which I think is very, very different. The way I think about this is formally artists their goal is to develop long-term careers, which is why they have to be exposed to the widest possible audiences. I think when you are doing original programming, it's a very different thing, because you're creating programming, you're not developing artists, you're creating programming specifically for your target audiences, and I do think this is a fundamentally different business than the business of developing artists.
So you're saying, in short, that you did not call the CEO of Spotify and yell at him on the phone and ask him to stop, right? So it was basically an eventuality that just happened. Yeah.
Yes, and we had a number. However, we had a number of discussions with him, very clearly telling him that, hey, our partnership with a company like Spotify is not the same. It cannot be the same with Spotify, the same nature as with, say, Apple Music, who is not a competitor. We cannot view in the discussion, in the daily relationship, we cannot have the same type of relationship. So does that drive us to do things with other services that we did not do with Spotify? Yes, it did. Because you cannot view one player that's competing with you in one hand with a player that's not competing with you on the same hand.
Okay, thank you, Dennis. So, Danny, I had a very me and Cushion, in fact, we had a very interesting chat with the CEO of your company, Rock Records, a few weeks ago. Very, very in-depth chat. I think Mr. Twan also presented a lot of his own views about, this new environment. I mean, I understand he's been very frustrated about not able to break artists as easily as it is in the past, because in the past, Rock Records has broken many great artists and great contents. But nowadays, in this ever-changing internet, heavily involved world, it's become more complicated. So tell us about how, as a 40 years old Chinese, Taiwanese, local indie, how do you cope and how do you kind of consider you guys, your role in this market going forward?
Well, we used to spend a year to make an album. Then nowadays, if you want, people can write and sing and record and master or not, and publish and then distribute them to places around the world within 24 hours. So is that a good thing or bad thing? I don't know, because a lot of things going on. But to those changes, that's a trend. So let me give you a little example. That 20 years ago, Rock Records has started a new company called Rock-Cola. And as some of you might probably know, Rock-Cola is the former version of Street Voice in China. And Rock-Cola is the first of its kind in Taiwan, maybe in Asia. It's a website, it's a digital website that empowered people on the website. They can release and exchange and trade music on the website. And that was 20 years ago. But eventually that idea didn't work out because lack of technology, and maybe that's still too early for the environment. But our idea is very simple, that because all of those changes, for like 20 years ago, the world was overwhelming by MP3 and P2P, and how can we deal with it? The whole idea for us is that very simple. We cannot fight technology. Although we don't really have to embrace technology, but anyway, we have to be open-minded, just like all the technology we have today. Rock Records have tried a lot of things. Recently, like 2 years ago, we started our own studio, owned by ourselves, to create short concert films. So other than 20,000 sound recording catalog, we now have over 300 short concert film videos. So that's what we did. We have to open-minded to all the technology, all the chance, all the opportunities. We used to rely our business on selling CDs, and nowadays we kind of feel that you cannot only rely on streaming platforms as well. So you have to seek out for other opportunities, try a lot of things, to be open-minded to all the technology. That's what we do. So I believe that opportunity is still there.
Yeah, thank you. I believe so. Yes, I think that's also part of the discussion that we had. is how do we collaborate going forward? And I believe as internet platforms going forward, if we want to create great content, I think if we create a short-lived content that is hot for a few weeks or for a few months, it could be easy for us. I'm not saying iQIYI. I think they've been doing this for longer than we do. But to create a content where it will last decades and people will still go back and listen to it, I think that require a very strong music spirit as well as very in-depth experience in creating such contents. And then there are only a few companies that's worthy of that title, right? So, yeah, definitely, I think there's a lot of collaboration opportunity. Yeah,
but that idea, I remember I read an article and the Forbes say that the fortune that collected by person who's already passed, I think 7 out of 10 are music related, including John Lennon. So I think I should pretty much focus on creating something will last for decades, not just for overnight.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. So, Michael, let me come back to you. Okay, so you guys have seen a lot of big success in the Rap of China, which literally lit up the fire of rap in China. Literally, I don't know if you guys know it. So rap in China previously, it's a bit of a secretive, minor type of music genre, and then with that program alone, they just basically lit up the fire. And then the fire was so strong, it had to be slightly put out by the government with some cap of control on top. But still, that the show is still going on. It's still a very big show this year. Uncover a lot of very good talents. And also this year, you guys launched the big band. Again, band before in China is a minor genre where it seems to be a bunch of somewhat rebellious people who get together and try to kind of sing their thoughts out. But again, with your movement in this new program, the big band, it has lit up the fire of band, this genre in China again. So great, well done. So do you foresee such a success keep going forward? And I guess, as you said, 50-50 with that, do you foresee that could be 80-20 one day?
Finally, set me up again. Okay, so first let's talk about the market. So I think it's pretty much very predictable of the users involved in this online videos, online streaming, online music. They won't spend more time into these things, because when you create a great content, telling them great stories, they feel it's cool, because people for us, like TV series, we spend 3 years, maybe 2 years to create one series for them. They can feel that. There's something magic in the content, so they enjoy this. So I think our confidence coming from the user's behavior. It's not from the market, it's not from the government, it's not from the capital, it's from the user's behavior. They spend more time, they interact with your content more. And sometimes when you look at a single user, they just give a comments about your content. And you can even distinguish some details that you talk about months to decide, to make the decision of the details. And they distinguish it from that huge amount of the content. So I think that's, they know things. So what we are trying to do is, for example, how to go back to the theme collaborates. Actually, we are trying not to produce content for someone, because previously the content provides, you provide them, and now me. No, we are not doing that. Actually, we are doing one thing, is try to understand more of our 100 million subscribers and try to work with content providers says that, things changed. They want something different. They not only look at the things we are looking at when we are kids, they look at content from all over the world. So what things will we want to give them 10 years later? Can we talk about it now? So that's things what we are doing now. So it's really hard for me to say, will the platform-driven content take more and more share and licensing less and less? I think no. Maybe in a certain while, the numbers shows the trend, but maybe in the future, it will going down reversely, because now when we try to talk about the content providers, you must upgrade your content. You must try to do something for the new decades consumers. They might or might not don't believe it. So. And we trust it, so they don't trust it. So what we're gonna do is okay, we will do the things, and let's see the cases if they like it or not. But that doesn't mean we have to produce all the content in the world. We try to encourage the content providers work with us to respect more of the users, respect more of our subscribers, to create better content for them. By the end of the day, they are artists, and we are platform. We try to work with a lot of artists that understand the subscribers. And then why we have to do it by ourselves? We don't have to. We just give a better business model and we share the revenue. That's okay. But before that, you need to have enough chip to going on the table. And that's why we do that, and it's in future. But in my point of view, in the short term, our self-production in the number of originals were going high. But in long term, we're going down, because modern people understand that they will use their talents to create better content than us, and we will use them. We will use ourselves.
So in the Chinese saying is, you throw out the rock to attract the jade. 投石引玉. Thank you. Terry, so I'm gonna unveil some of your secret here. Yeah, I heard that KK Farm has a very unique technology which developed by you.
No, it wasn't.
That is an algorithm that you use a lot of the data that you guys gathered. And you have predicted and uncovered many great up and rising talents in a very early stage, and signed them, and now they have become like the top artist in Taiwan, and sometimes in some aspects also in Hong Kong and China as well, such as OSN Gao and Eggplant Egg Band, right? So tell us about your secret and how much of the technology side from our CTS angle has involved in this process of finding these bright young new talents?
So first of all, I didn't develop it. I take no credit for it. I think I was the only one using it. But kind of like Hushin was mentioning earlier, I think using predictive analysis, especially with the amount of data points that platforms give today, like just millions every day, like every 24 hours, for the first time, like we no longer, as creative strategists, we no longer have to rely on just our intuition, right? So one of the things that I started doing about 3 years ago was, in the process of finding value for the people that we've invested in, is I would do the boring stuff, which is like, most of the guys want to create music, they have ideas, they have creative ideas, and I would just go see if I can validate them. So like in the case of, say, whether it was Ocean or Eggplant Egg, I think a lot of the so-called prediction that we were doing we probably didn't even know that we were predicting it at that time, but we were just like, well, this seems pretty fair. Like, for this sample selection of people, this is how much retention you have. This is your skip rate. This is how sticky it is. And then taking those quantifiable metrics back and observing creatively what their strategy was doing. Like, for example, in the case of Ocean, I remember when he first signed to this label called SKR, which is ran by Scott Suyama, who is a pretty well-known producer in Taiwan. I remember Scott calling me. He was like, "Yo, I'm going to sign 3 rappers." And I was like, "Well, everyone's signing rappers thanks to iQIYI's show." And I was like, "Are you sure?" And he was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "All right, well, you're the boss." So I was like, and the numbers seem to say that hip hop's a trend. And so he went into it. And I remember, like, they did like 2 songs, and it just didn't work. Like, there wasn't any, like, you know, the songs just came out and it fizzled away. And because these were like dancey rap club songs. And then one day he calls up and he's like, "Hey, you know what? I write ballads pretty well, so I think I'm just gonna do ballad rap with Ocean." I was like, "What's ballad rap?" And he sends me these songs. And then another thing that we do is we actually, and this may sound a little weird, but I love to take demos and run them through our like audio signal analysis, because we'll like analyze chord progressions to the chord progressions of songs that we have in our like chart database. Like, historically, these progressions, these melodies, we even do like, say, vocal decomposition, where we can take someone's voice and say, okay, you're like 25% Amy Winehouse, 30% so-and-so, and kind of just take all of this data to kind of go like, okay, well, mathematically, this bet's worth taking. And you know, I mean, this kind of like, it's kind of hedging our risk, right? So, and I think that was very helpful for us. Especially when we were just starting out KK Farm, and we didn't have a lot of money to risk, and we had to take these huge bets. So that kind of worked out for us. Of course, today we're working on turning a lot of these different algorithms and tools that we've created internally into something that we can open up to, say, labels and other partners to use as well. I think this is the future, and I actually, you know, like earlier when you guys were talking, I was just thinking, you know, first of all, I mean, back to what we're talking about today, I think platforms making content to lower your content cost is very pragmatic. I think that absolutely makes sense. But at the same time, platforms are not doing it for artists. And this is the difference, because, and this, I think, is the question that we're all trying to figure out, is how do we scale creativity? I think scaling creativity is very hard. Like at KK Farm, we've learned that, like, we're not just trying to scale creativity, we're trying to scale people who are trying to scale creativity. Like, we're trying to build an ecosystem or a network at scale that encourages different businesses who are trying to scale creativity in this day and age. So like, I think like 30 years from now, if we look back at this 5-year period, I actually think, for example, like all of these different, especially the music programs that iQIYI is making, I think we're gonna look back and say 2015 to 2020 something was a very important period in music, because, for example, I think, I don't know many people noticed this, but TC, when you were mentioning like that rap of China lit that fire, it didn't just light that fire in China, but all around the Greater China region, and you could see, like, for example, Rock Records has one of my favorite rap groups called MJ116, under an affiliate label, right? Like I remember at the time when Rap of China was just becoming very popular, like one day I just noticed, I was like, wow, MJ116 MAU just literally doubled. Like it was like the stairs, like it just went up and permanently stayed there. And I was just like, wow. And I think that was around the time that Wantong really just broke out from a very popular rap group to like an established A-list group, right? So I think the things that are happening now is we're actually already figuring out how to coexist. I like the fact that we're talking about it because through competing, we've actually just kind of like blew the roof off of this total accessible market that we now have. And I think that in the future, I don't want to digress, but I kind of want to talk a lot about AI music. I think 10 years into the road, like from now, when we start seeing music generation become more mature, that creativity is just going to put more and more content out into this market that we'll probably not even know.
I know
that opportunity.
Terry has got lots of stuff to say and in mind, and I think we can continue our discussion in our room outside. But I was originally going to allow a couple of questions from the crowd, since it's a bit of a sensitive topic here. Anyone has got anything that you must raise your hand and ask before we end this panel? No one? Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Great. Thank you. Thank you.